yamsketch.
Okay, so in the last one, we talked about a couple of ways to color artwork. So we flatted first. After we had our original ink drawing, we flatted. We copied that flat channel, but locked the original, so we would always have these original selections, and then started modifying so that we could create colors that are more in the palette that we actually want. We created a painterly version. We also created a shadow and highlight version based on selections. And then I was also showing you guys that you could combine these by having the painterly version and the shadows and the highlights and create a more complicated piece very quickly and efficiently, okay? Now, this time I want to show you something that's pretty much totally different. So even though these layers are here, just you can ignore them. We're not going to use them this time. And we're going to go back to our color layer, and we are going to create a adjustment layer down here, and we're going to create a black and white, okay? And then above the black and white, we're going to create a layer, okay? And this layer is going to be what we're going to paint on. Now, in this version, what we're doing is we're stripping out all the color, and we're just going to focus on black and white painting, and that's it. So one of the easy things to do is you could just come in here and start painting, and that's fine. That would work. But one of the things that you can do is you can go to your flats channel, get your wand tool, normal selection, grab that, have the selection of what you want to work on, go back to your layer, which is going to be shadow and light in the same layer, and then come here. Now, in your color picker, just keep in mind that for this, we're only going to be working with values. We've stripped out everything, so we're just going to be working with black and white. So now you have the full range of black and white open to you, and you have the full tool set open to you. So use any tool you want, use airbrushes, use your favorite paint brushes, anything, and just paint away. So in this version, it's very similar to our painterly version where we're really just painting. The difference is that there's this kind of a cheat here where all we have to do is focus on the value study. All we have to do is make a good value study with good black and white values. And then the coloring, we're kind of going to do with a trick, okay? Applying color to that. So I'm just going to paint this in a very simple way. And so you have this big old scrumbly brush. I'm not going to worry too much about perfection. But if you wanted to, you could paint in, light and dark areas and then smear them with a smear tool or whatever, whatever is the most efficient way for you personally to paint. This isn't a painting tutorial. We will have painting tutorials, but this isn't a painting tutorial. This is a coloring tutorial. So I'm just going to assume that you already have some method that you like. But whatever that method is, get a black and white rendering that looks pretty good. Okay? And I'm just going to add some highlights here. And again, I'm not going to be too worried about perfect for this, but you can noodle it as much as you want. But I do want some nice variation, okay? So that's good. One way to, there. Yeah, one way to get some of that variation, like I said, would be to use a smear tool. So let me see if I've got any smear tools here. Let's get a smear, current tool, nothing. Well, I don't have my smear tools loaded, so I'm not going to worry about them too much. But yeah, if you wanted to just come in here and scrub that around, that's one way to do it. The other way is to color pick. So I have this color and I have this color, and I can draw that and then pick in between and then now draw it with that, and that'll be somewhere in between. So anyway, yeah, I'm basically just going to get some nice fading color variety here and make sure that he looks pretty good black to white, that there's some good value contrast. This is also a good time to focus on not just the main character, but the background in general. So, you can come in here and start to think about these things. Where should it be darker? Where should it be darker in the woods? Should be darker at the bottom, and so on like that. I'm gonna come in here and just darken this up. I still have my color variants on, and right now, because we don't have any color, all it's really varying is the actual value itself, but that's kind of fun too. That's giving me just like a more painterly effect, which I'm okay with, but you could turn that off if you like. But anyway, I'm just going very loosely here. I could be going to my flats layer to make perfect selections, and I will when I need to, but right now I'm just working loose because I can and because it's fun, and just getting kind of this forest in here. So I want to have some good values. Good. And then on this field too, I can have some values on this field. So let's go for kind of a softer change here into the woods on this field, because it is a background. I don't have to have it be so selection-y. And then the cool part is once you have some hues down, or not hues, sorry, values, you can just color pick around and get some darker ones and get some ones that make sense. And then color pick that to get around. So again, I don't want any color in here. I don't know how blue got in there, but I don't want that. Okay, good. And there. So I can start to get a good feel for this. Good. I don't know how those colors are getting in. I'm not going to worry about it too much. Okay, so here we are with basically the values that I want. Now in his horns, I want some values too, so I'll go to the flats, go to my wand, bam, grab them, go to the layer, and add in, oops, okay, get my brush and add in some values, and maybe even a little bit darker. There we go, something we can see. So there's some values. Here you can see that. This is really pretty fast because I'm not worrying about what's exactly the right color and yada yada. Just thinking dark to light, what's in shadow, what's gonna have a highlight, okay? And then you can see that I don't have highlights here, so if I come up to the white and even maybe shrink my brush down a little bit because it's pretty huge, I can hit highlights here, like maybe that's really catching the light, okay? And highlights aren't always on the edges. Sometimes they kind of something weird will hit the light, so it's kind of fun to bounce around sometimes. Add a highlight in an unexpected place. That can look pretty good. Okay, so let's add one there, and then let's go back to here. And because I'm just worried about black and white, it's pretty easy to even not have things selected and still just move around and work here. And then when I need a perfect selection, I can go do that, right? So I'm being pretty loose with this right now, and just going on my gut. Okay. So I think we can put some highlight there, maybe one on the cheek here, and maybe one here in the fur. Good. Okay, maybe there. Okay, maybe the water itself, and a little smaller brush, the water can be catching the light. So that's cool. So what's cool is I can bounce in between being pretty detail oriented and pretty loose, pretty non-detail oriented. Now I can just come in here, and what I'm trying to make is a nice little rendering, almost like a pencil drawing, something that I'm pretty happy with, but I'm not worrying about the colors. Harping on that, okay? Because in the next part, it's going to be really rad when we just snap the colors in. You're going to be like, what? If you've never seen this technique, it's pretty cool. You can use it for a lot of things. Okay, so, all right, so I'm giving him some highlights in his fur and stuff. That's probably enough. And there we go. So just focusing on the black and white. And then his eye is just way bright. So I'm going to just knock that back all into darkness. There we go. That's better. And then we'll just grab some. There we go. We'll give him a little highlight in his eye, but I don't want his whole eye to be all glowy glowerson. Okay, and kind of knock that back. Good. Good, okay. And then let's just kind of get some highlights going. Can I get some highlights? Can I get some highlights, anybody? All right, cool. So that's good. Now let's apply our technique. So the first thing what we're going to do is we're going to make a selection. So the first thing that we want to work on, or that I want to work on, is fur and the body. So I'm going to go to my flats. Again, those flats, playing it big. Those flats are huge. All right, so make sure that those flats don't get messed up. Make sure they're locked so they don't get changed. Select this here. Okay, and then the bush we don't need. I don't know why I picked that. I guess that must have been the same color in the flats. So out we go. So we've got our guy. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to this layer and I'm going to add an adjustment layer above it. Okay, and this layer is going to be a gradient map. So this method is the gradient map method. Okay, what a gradient map does is it takes from black to white, or from the values that you have here, and it remaps them to whatever the gradient is. So right now the gradient's gray to white, so it's remapping black to white to gray to white. That's not very useful, but if we pick something like this, now we're starting to get some useful. So everything that's black in my drawing will be assigned to this color, and then everything that's white in my drawing will be assigned to this yellow cream color, and then everything in between will be assigned where it belongs, okay? So you can reverse these if it doesn't feel right, but of course this was the right direction. And then click on that, and let's start modifying. So in this method, in the gradient map method, you're going to be creating multiple gradient maps, and each one has a mask that is that area of what it's coloring. So you're basically starting with a black and white image, and then building in a color, building in a color, building in a color, until by the end the whole thing's color. So that's how the gradient map method works. And it's pretty simple. You just come in here and you come up with gradients that work. So once you make a bunch, for scenes, then you can just save them out and add to swatches, and then you'll have a set of gradient maps that's going to kind of work for your character. But remember, this is going to be in the shade, so let's make that much darker. This one should be bluer and much darker. Oh, there you go. It's starting to feel better. Much darker and less saturated, let's say. Okay, this one in the middle. This one also a little bit bluer. Not as saturated as they have it. Okay, good. This one here, we can move around, and you can get instant feedback on this, so it's really rad. So this one is going to be a little bit less saturated as well. Then this one on the top, this one can be kind of the color our sky was, which was much more yellowy orange, right? So let's make that quite bright. Okay, so what's really cool is you can keep adding to this, and you can do really interesting things. Like you can test stuff like, well, what if I just made this shadow purple? And then you can be like, wow, that looks kind of cool. Maybe we could use that. Maybe we can play with that. I think that looks pretty rad. So the cool thing about this method is that it encourages you to play, and it's very non-destructive. It's very easy to come back and change colors. So we'll leave that as it is here. And then the downside to it is that you're going to have a bunch of adjustment layers. Now, adjustment layers are really cheap because they're just adjustment layers. They're just black and white masks, so they don't make your file size that big, but you do have to manage more of them. So I definitely recommend starting to name these, like this is deer, right? Okay, but this is how it works. You just make a black and white painting out of your whole scene, and then you just do the gradient ramp. It's pretty simple. So what we're going to do here next is we're going to go to our flats, and we're going to go to our horns, grab those. We're going to go to our gradient map, and we're going to just add another one, and this is going to be our gradient map. Okay, and then we need to keep picking these, and that's as you make more, it becomes easier. But of course, at the beginning, you got to make tons of gradients. You can simplify this by just throwing it down into like a 2 or 3 part gradient at first, just to get it how you want. And let's make this more of like an ivory. Okay, here is going to be more of a yellowy ivory gray, and here too. Actually, let's kill that. Okay, good. And then here we're going to put more of a, there. Yes, a little bit, there we go. That looks better already. And then in here, I might add something like, it's going to be brighter, but maybe I'll make it like green. That would be kind of cool. A little bit of a dull green. And then you can see, as I brighten this up, you can see in my highlights, I get these bright yellows from the sun. So that's cool. So boom, there you go. So there's two gradients. Now, the cool thing about this is it's non-destructive. I can add, I can change, and all that I'm actually doing is adding this stuff to the mask. So if you want something to be this same color, all you have to do is go into the mask and paint it in or out, right? And then you can start to build those gradients. So you do have a lot of flexibility here. And that's the other way of doing this. If you, I just go to the flats and grab, but if you want to draw something extra, you can make a gradient and then you can actually just paint the selection in, right? I'm not drawing here, I'm just painting a selection in this gradient. So it's pretty cool, actually. Okay, so this method is also rad, but it does take some time. You definitely have to, get your selections and all that stuff so that it can take time. That's the downside, but let's just keep with it because it's going to be fun. We'll just finish this top panel. But it is a really cool method for really quickly getting some really nice ideas together, okay? So here's one that's interesting. Do we need to reverse this? Probably, yes, we do. So let's see. This one is going to be this really bright field. Oh, wait. No, I guess we need to not reverse it. Okay, so this one is going to be the dark trees. So let's go dark trees. This one, well, here we go. Okay, so here we'll have our dark forest and woods. Good. Okay, here we have kind of the purpley mountains. Ooh, here we go. Good. Good. And then here, so that'll be like there. Here we've got more of these green fields. And you can see that it's really assigning these things where they are. So I got to adjust them so that I'm just kind of getting the things that I want to get. So let's see if these green fields are there. So I'm seeing already them. Obviously, I'm going to need to split out this green field from the rest of these, from the mountains and stuff. So let's get rid of that purple. And let's get rid of, maybe let's put the blue there. No, let's keep the blue where it was. Let's put the green up here. Let's add one there and make that kind of a, there you go. All right. So, it's pretty good. I just kind of want to focus on this forest. I just want to make this forest as good as it can be. Right? So, good, right? Good. Okay, so I like that. So if that didn't make sense, kind of taking a while, that's the forest. And then, this green valley area here, I'm going to have to make a selection there to get that. Don't need this one, though. You can go away. All right, and then I need to make another gradient map for that. So gradient map, boom, right? Get that, come down here. Brown obviously is not what we want. Let's kill all these and cover this one. That'll go to like a yellow green. This one will go to like a brighter green, and then we'll add something in the middle, a little bit of yellow, that, and we'll add this, a little bit of green, like that, and so you can start to see the contrast here. Okay, so it really is just a matter of playing with this stuff. There we go. Oh, there we go. There we go. So, all right. So we're starting to get some nice contrast. Okay. So this can take a little bit, but once you have it set up, it's pretty cool because it's completely non-destructive. You can play with it. You can work with it. If you set up these gradients in advance, then you spend less time fooling with these gradients, and it's really just about selecting the flats and then picking the right gradient in the gradient maps. That makes it really fast. So if you set up some of these gradients in advance, this technique can actually be quite fast and have quite a good result. Now, what I wanted to bring up was this is a technique that is non-destructive that can also be built on with other techniques. So we have this nice sort of gradient to give us base colors. There's nothing to say that I can't just come in over this and start painting more stuff. So I can come in over this and I can add shadows and I can add highlights and I can do that whole thing. So you can use this as a technique to make sure you're getting nice value by painting your darks and lights. And then you can use the color maps to give it just like these nice base colors so that you get a beautiful start to your color palette. And then you can come in with your shadows and highlights or with another paint layer and really just come in there and finesse it by painting by hand on there, you know, just adding in the stuff that you want to add in. So I really like that method. I call that the gradient map method. There's a lot you can do with gradient maps, but for now I just wanted to show you that. Just a very simple technique for painting in black and white and then giving the thing an overall gradient and then working on top of that with an additional layer if you want. So those are 3 different methods we've covered, sort of the selection lasso method, this gradient map method, and then just painting on one layer method. I think any of those in combination or alone will work really well for you. There are other methods and we may cover those, but for now, those are the 3 I wanted to cover with you guys. I hope you like that. I hope that's useful for you. If you have any questions or comments, put them down below. And if you want to be involved in seeing more of these videos or actually getting, you know, questions about your art and your questions answered, subscribe and send in your questions and we'll cover them. So that'll be cool. Anyway, good to see you guys as always, and I'll see you later. Bye.
Yamsketch.